On the 7th of September 1850, federal enumerators finalized the real estate valuations for Cook County, Illinois, recording $0 in property value for over 400 massive stone structures sitting directly on the waterfront. Why did Secretary of the Interior, Thomas Ewing, order federal agents to legally erase $22 million of existing, fully built real estate from the National Ledger? You are about to see the exact paperwork they used to steal an entire civilization. The history books sell the 1850 census as a triumph of modern administration. It was the 7th census of the United States, but the first one to supposedly record the names and real estate holdings of every free individual. The official narrative claims this was a young, expanding pioneer nation simply taking inventory of its incredible growth. Government clerks sent field agents across the country to count the farmers and merchants building a new world out of the mud. You are told this document proves the steady, linear progression of manifest destiny. They want you to look at those handwritten ledgers and see the honest beginnings of American property law. But the original handwritten field schedules from the Illinois district do not show a nation building itself from scratch. They show a massive corporate syndicate quietly seizing assets that were already there. Look at Schedule 6, Social Statistics. This is where enumerators were required to log the value of public buildings and commercial institutions. Cross-reference the 1850 physical maps of St. Louis in Chicago with the federal ledgers for those exact same blocks. The physical maps from 1848 show massive star forts, heavy masonry asylums, sprawling cathedral complexes. 2 years later, the census ledgers list those exact parcels of land as unimproved public domain. Nobody audited this, not once in 170 years. A federal agent just walked past a 4-story granite complex, dipped his pen in ink, and classified the land as empty dirt. The census field notes for the 3rd Ward of St. Louis skip from entry 412 to entry 499, completely deleting 86 consecutive properties occupying the most valuable commercial district in the region. The people living in those missing properties did not just lose their homes, they were legally wiped from the timeline by a newly created federal department designed specifically to transfer their wealth to railroad trusts. The agency executing this erasure did not exist 2 years prior. The United States Department of the Interior was established in 1849, just 1 year before the census, specifically to consolidate control over the Patent Office and the National Census under one roof. The first Secretary of the Interior was Thomas Ewing. He was a corporate lawyer for the Ohio Company, a massive land speculation syndicate. Ewing recognized that if you control the census, you control reality. If the government does not count a building, that building has no legal owner. If it has no legal owner, it reverts to the public domain. And if it reverts to the public domain, the federal government can quietly auction it off to private trusts. The 1850 census was not a demographic survey. It was a foreclosure ledger. The enumerators were sent out to identify surviving old world infrastructure. Then they legally unpersoned the occupants. I need you to follow this carefully. Intentional. The instructions explicitly told agents to ignore real estate held by individuals who could not produce a federal land patent dated after 1812. If a family had occupied a stone estate for 4 generations, they were classified as squatters. Their names were left off Schedule 1. Their property was left off Schedule 6. The Land Bureau then issued new federal patents for that exact same land to corporate cartels like the Illinois Central Railroad. They ran tracks straight through the erased districts. They claimed the massive brick factories as newly constructed rail depots. They repurposed the heavy masonry star forts as federal armories. They did not build the Western Empire. They found it. They wiped the original occupants off the census. They handed the deeds to railroad cartels. In a single 10-month period, the Interior Department used this exact paperwork blind spot to transfer 48 million acres of occupied, developed Old World real estate to private syndicates for $0 The corporate trusts that swallowed those 48 million acres did not vanish into history. They merged into the banking monopolies that hold the deed to your house right now. You are carrying debt right now that traces back to a decision made in a private room in 1850 that was never put to a public vote. The American real estate market is built entirely on the chain of title. To prove you own your home, your title company must trace the ownership back to the original land patent issued by the federal government. But every single one of those original patents relies on the assumption that the government actually owned the land when they sold it. They did not. They laundered it through the Department of the Interior using fabricated census ledgers. The first American financial corporation, which currently insures millions of modern property titles, bases its entire legal authority on 19th century land grants that were stolen from the people, erased in the 1850 census. When you pay your mortgage, you are paying interest to a financial system that invented its own foundational assets out of thin air. You pay property taxes based on a county ledger system designed by the exact same men who forged the Western schedules. Your entire financial existence is anchored to a document that systematically deleted a massive, pre-existing civilization. The government assumes ultimate authority to tax your land because they claim they distributed it. But they only distributed what they stole, and they only stole it by making the previous owners legally invisible. They prove that a sufficiently organized bureaucracy can delete an empire just by leaving it off a spreadsheet. You go to work every day to pay off a mortgage on a piece of dirt, trusting that the county clerk has your name spelled correctly in their database. But what happens to your legal right to exist when the system updates the ledger and decides your property is empty? If they could erase $22 million of heavy masonry in 1850 without anyone asking a single question, what makes you think your digital bank account actually belongs to you? The visuals and storyline reconstruction in this video were assisted by AI because sometimes the only way to show you what they buried is to rebuild it from scratch. If what we just found about the United States Department of the Interior changed how you see your own property deed, put it in the comments. Do you genuinely believe the county assessor actually recognizes your right to the land, or are you just renting your existence from a corporate trust? Subscribe if you want to be here when we pull the next thread, because it connects directly to the property taxes you are forced to pay every single year. This does not end here.